Next email.
Yes.
Therapy at the start of a relationship.
Therapy before the start of a relationship. There's your answer.
Before. Hello, I've watched a lot of y'all's content on TikTok. Something resonates with me about all of the advice that I hear from you both.
But you don't watch on YouTube, which means you're missing a ton of content, and I'm willing to bet whatever is in this email has already been answered on YouTube at least once.
Yes, it has.
Yep, there you go.
You just want to skip this?
Nope, I want to read it.
Okay.
Just so I can be like, see, I told you that was on YouTube.
My current partner and I are both in DBT together. He enrolled after me as it was a requirement for me to have a partner that was willing to do self-work with me after having a lot of relationships with communication issues and issues emotionally that I have found that therapy has helped me a lot with.
Okay. So they started a relationship with expectations.
Correct.
That's good. That's good. That's super fucking healthy.
I love that she was already doing it
Yep.
before she got into the relationship, and then he was willing to do it with her. That's a solid foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a solid start to working on your foundation. I have been supporting and cheering him on from the sidelines, and he has seen a huge improvement on his outlook on life, as well as being able to better manage his anxiety and people-pleasing tendencies. That people-pleasing will destroy you.
Yeah. Yep.
People-pleasing is another thing that will make you a shell of a human being. We almost have a routine. We got out of therapy, talk about things that we liked, what was difficult, and then we use what we learned in scenarios that have either happened in the past or something that we are struggling with, usually stress from work. Scenarios is another one of those things on that ever-scrolling list.
These chairs really don't feel any different to you than the black ones?
No. They all hurt my back the same.
I fucking hate these chairs. Like, hate these chairs.
Yeah.
There's a strong possibility I may order those chairs when that whiskey wall's done.
Okay. We have a very open communication system, have a decompression schedule that works for us, and overall, our life together over 1 year has been so peaceful that we have only had one argument with no invalidation creeping in.
This sounds like everything we discuss on the podcast.
Yeah.
Decompression time, proper communication.
And they have a schedule for their decompression time.
Yeah.
So they know, all right, when I get home today, it's Friday, she's going to be in the bath until 7 o'clock.
Yep.
I love that. That was just an example. I hate that I have to clarify shit.
You don't have to.
You're right, I don't have to. It just makes my life easier. You know, I can't remember where I saw it. It was on some platform. Somebody said that we are telling people how to live their lives. That this is what you have to do. It's almost ingrained in me now to clarify the things that I mean.
That's because we got so much hate in the beginning of all of this.
Yeah.
What we're doing works, so you should probably keep clarifying because the podcast is growing. I don't.
So, just for clarification, nothing we ever say is a demand. You have to do what we say or your life is going to be miserable, because that's not the truth.
Yeah.
That is not what we are doing.
If that was the case, we'd have millions of subscribers.
We would have millions of subscribers and we would be like...
Yeah, because we would tell them to subscribe and they would.
I mean, they do.
They don't, because we're only at like 80,000 and not 5 million, which is how many views we've had.
Oh, yeah. If everybody subscribed every time we told them to?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'd be...
Right.
Just on TikTok, I'd be at like 10 million.
Crazy.
But if you guys have ever felt like we have been telling you that this is the lifestyle to live or you're going to be miserable forever, that's not the case. Mm-mm. What we are doing is trying to give you our thought processes on situations, the way that we intake information and the way that we give it.
And the shit that's worked for us.
Right.
And the shit that's worked for thousands of other people at this point.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know how good it could be. I've never been able to trust anyone in my entire life the way that I have him. I just want to say that hearing how your husband has BPD and is open about his struggles on the podcast and about how it can be difficult. Oh, fuck me. I just want to say that hearing how your husband has BPD and is open about his struggles on the podcast and about how it can affect the relationship dynamic is so nice and really makes me feel validated by an outside source as I also have BPD. Do you feel that you as a couple use therapy skills, and how do you feel like they improve your relationship?
That's our entire podcast.
The entire podcast.
Yeah.
Are there any difficulties that y'all have had in the past with using or implementing therapy skills?
Yeah, we've tried things that didn't work until we found out what works for the two of us. Mm-hmm. Again, that's the entire podcast.
Right. It's not a one size fit all.
It's not.
It really is. Isn't. My brain, I'm having a really hard time making my thoughts match my mouth because we think faster than we speak. Mm-hmm. So my brain, I thought about what I wanted to say 45 seconds ago, and I'm already 40 million miles ahead. And I'm saying what I'm already currently thinking, not what I thought about.
Right. Therapy, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast too. Therapy is literally a place you go to get tools. Mm-hmm. That's it. They're not doing anything for you.
No, it's not a cure-all.
They are giving you the tools for you to do the shit yourself. It's no different than what we're doing. We are giving you the tools that has worked for us so that you can try them. And if they work, great. And if they don't work, you tried, and then you can try something else.
Or you noticed, say you take 10 things from the podcast, only 2 of those things worked.
Right.
Right? You take those 2 things, you see what they're doing, and then you can alter some of the other things. You customize them, and then you bring them in, and then you try that. You tweak it a little bit.
Yep.
Nothing has ever been discovered on the first try.
No.
This podcast is still not done with the evolution. It is constantly changing. We are constantly tweaking things.
That's 90% of my life right now.
Mm-hmm. Tweaking shit.
The audio has been a big one.
Mm-hmm. If you could recommend everyone go into therapy with their partner at the beginning of a relationship, do you think that more relationships would be more successful if both people put in the work and time? No. Because
not all therapy is created equal, and not all therapists are created equal.
Right.
It sounds to me like she's got a good therapist and she's trying to push therapy on people. Mm. There are people out there who can read a book and gain more from that single book than they would ever gain through therapy.
There are people who have learned more from 1 month of listening to our podcast than they have in 6 years of therapy.
Yeah, we've actually gotten that email.
We have received several emails.
Yeah.
There was one where someone said, I've been seeing a therapist for 15 years, and I just had one of my first massive breakthroughs watching you guys.
Yep. Therapy is not one size fits all. It's definitely a great place to go and get tools. It's the Home Depot of thoughts. It's where thinkers get shit done.
It is.
But you got to find a good therapist. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that takes going through a Rolodex of people to find someone you mesh with. Like, I don't know. You can learn a lot from fucking YouTube that you can learn to go into therapy. The how you get better isn't fucking as important as getting better. So if you have to read self-help books, read self-help books. If you got to go to YouTube, go to YouTube. If you got to listen to us, listen to us. If you got to listen to somebody else, listen to somebody else.
It's 1,000 ways to make a burger.
That's it. Fucking cheeseburger's a cheeseburger. Love me some cheeseburgers.
I know this is dependent by overall compatibility as well, but statistically, how much more often do you feel relationships would work out if couples started out learning communication skills via therapy or otherwise? I think you should already know how to communicate before you get into a relationship. Mm-hmm.
We've talked about all this.
If you don't already know how to communicate, you can't fine-tune your communication with the person you're with.
Right. And you are going to have to fine-tune it because you guys aren't going to be on the same frequency. You'll be close.
I was just about to say everybody's on a different frequency. Yep. So you just got out of a relationship. Your frequency is now tuned into yourself. Now you're getting with somebody else. All of your other frequencies that you have known is not going to match this person.
Right.
So you're going to have to turn that fucking dial and try to figure out and be like, okay, it's a little bit more clear here, but it's still a little bit static.
Yep.
If you could tell a new couple one thing you have learned from life and or therapy that you feel has helped your relationship succeed, what would it be?
She is really pushing that therapy shit.
She really is pushing the therapy.
I don't like that.
It is making me a little bit uncomfortable. Like you said, you have a really good therapist.
Right.
Not everybody has had fantastic therapists. So therapy is not the only way to make yourself better, as we
Right.
have already said.
Yep. Therapy is a place to go to get tools. That's it.
It's one avenue. There's boats, there's cars, there's airplanes. Therapy is a boat.
Yep.
You could also take a car, you could take a plane, you could take a train. There are people who have those little fucking hoverboards now. There are so many different forms of transportation. Doesn't matter what kind of transportation you take. It doesn't matter how long that transportation takes to get you there. What matters is you are getting to the final destination. And that's what I learned in life.
So to answer that question, the advice that I would give is everybody needs to read Choice Theory by William Glasser.
I agree with that. I do want to say I love that therapy has helped this person so much.
Yeah, me
like
too.
This person's ecstatic and I love it. I'm here for the excited energy. I just want it to be known that is really not the only avenue
Right.
to get to the point of where this person is now with the dope relationship and the communication and everything's working.
Right. But in 6 or 7 months from now, when that person splits from their therapist and actually has an episode where they're splitting and doesn't view the therapist in the light that they're viewing their therapist in, that email would look very different.
Yeah.
That's borderline.
Mm-hmm.
She's on a fucking high right now and views her therapist as her person. And when that falls apart, that therapy love and passion is not going to be there anymore.
Borderline's so insane.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I've actually seen that shit happen. They talk about that too in Buddha and the Borderline. That's a discussion that gets brought up.
What, therapy?
That whole splitting with the therapist thing.
Oh. That's crazy. I didn't know that would be specifically addressed. I didn't know that was such a prevalent thing.
Splitting is fucking huge with borderline.
I know splitting is, but specifically with a therapist.
Well, because people get attached to the therapist. Like if you borderline, it's very common for borderline patients to fall in love with a therapist.
Oh.
It's also a common thing because you finally feel like somebody understands you and like you're getting. There's a closeness that comes from that, and it's hard for us to separate those things.
You're like the separation of this is a profession versus
Right.
Okay.
They're doing a job, you know.
Yeah. That doesn't mean your therapist doesn't care about you.
No, not at
Your
all.
therapist does. It is. They wouldn't be in your life otherwise.
Right. Well, yeah.
Your therapist isn't going to meet you for dinner.
No.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of inappropriate things that happen. People with borderline attach, and then they detach. It's like the splitting thing, and they have abandonment issues. And the first time they need their therapist, and their therapist is on vacation and can't give them exactly what they need in that moment, they'll probably split. They don't care about me. Fuck them. Why am I doing this? It becomes a whole thing.
Wow.
Yep. We should buy you a hard copy of Buddha and the Borderline so you can read through that book.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a really, really good book. That book, I mean, I've read a lot of borderline books trying to understand me better. But that one gave me the most information about why I do some of the things that I do and to help me like truly get it. And a lot of it just comes down to emotional and logic brain thinking. I've become a very logic brain thinker. Like I don't get emotional over much of anything anymore. I might get passionate about a conversation, but it's not emotion based. If it was emotion based, like it would be a very different outcome for me than a normal person when they get emotional.
To be honest, I'm kind of scared to read that book.
Why?
Because I'm still trying to find, I've reached out to one borderline therapist in Tampa, and I have yet to hear back. So I'm still kind of just doing research on my own. And I think in reading that book, it's going to make me recognize a lot more things. Just now, you talking about people with borderline getting attached to their therapists. That happened to me when I was like 15 or 16, and I had a male therapist. Yeah. And then there was that one time I wanted to get in early, and his patient list was full. So it wasn't an option. I was like, he doesn't care.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I don't matter. Fuck this guy. And I stopped going to therapy.
I mean, worst comes to worst, you're gonna read a book and take something away from it. You can find a piece of gold in almost every book you read. You just got to be willing to be patient enough to get through the book.
I think I take a lot from when I read books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get through an entire book with one sentence being valuable and be like, that was a totally good read. So.
Next email.
Sure.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed that, found it entertaining, funny, or even learned something you didn't know before, share it. And if you're not subscribed, why aren't you?
And for those of you who want to support us, get access to exclusive content and live streams, we do have a Patreon. All the links are in the description.